What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian. And today we're going to spend the entire video trying to find Kristaps Porzingis a new home. Now, KP, if for some weird reason you find this video and are like, hey, I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes watching it, just know that I love you and I would like for you to stay. I would much rather you stay in green. But because of the terrible people that came up with the second apron in this collective bargaining agreement, we most likely have to find you a new home. So I'm going to do my best to find you a good home. And let's get started. And before we do, just know that, none of these are going to feel great as a Celtics fan, okay? There's no world in which, oh my God, is this a superstar coming in? It's not. It's not. This is all going to be like financial decisions. So none of them are going to be sexy, but maybe we can find some diamonds in the rough or whatever cliche statement you want to put in there to make yourself feel a little good. All right, let's get started. We're going to do it with the Warriors, okay? The Warriors obviously are interested in some new bigs, right? They were asking Draymond Green to play the 5 basically the entire year, which he can play the 5. He's an incredible defensive player, but maybe you only want him doing that for the last, few months of the season, not the entire run. Other than that, it was like Kevon Looney and some other bros who weren't really cut out for the playoff run. So here's what this could look like. The Celtics would get rid of Porzingis. The Celtics would get Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, Trace Jackson Davis, and Guy Santos. Now, none of those names are lighting the world on fire, okay? We did see Buddy Hield have a couple of pretty solid performances. It would give us, in the postseason, right? It would give us a little bit of shooting, which I don't think would be the worst thing in the world. For me personally, the thing that I like the most about this package is Moses Moody. I think somebody like Moody still has some potential. It's really hard for young players to break through the rotation. Steve Kerr's not a fan of playing youngins, as it took Jonathan Kuminga and forever to get into the rotation, and he really didn't even get in the rotation. It took people getting hurt first. But Moses Moody did get some real run last year, but clearly he's going to be on the move. And then Trace Jackson Davis and Guy Santos are both like a little bit interesting. Guy Santos reminds me of Anderson Varejao, if you remember him. I don't know if that's because of the floppy top that he's got going on there, but he's very active around the rim. Doesn't really provide any sort of stretch shooting or anything like that. Trace Jackson Davis, too, like he played a lot of minutes for Golden State. I actually thought he was a pretty solid big, still really young, and still really raw. And as we talked about in previous videos, right, getting 2 bigs while losing Porzingis, and then you got to assume you're probably losing one, if not both, of Al and Luke Cornett. Probably just one, but you're losing one. That really thins out the front court. So to get back 2 pieces like Trace Jackson Davis and Guy Santos is pretty solid. Buddy Hield, I'm not the biggest Buddy Hield guy in the world. But by doing this move, Boston would have to make other moves to accommodate some of the new players, right? But all 4 of Moody, Hield, Jackson Davis, and Santos are positive values on the contracts that they're on. So we'll see. The Celtics could also take some of those guys and reroute them into other packages for Holiday and White, or not White. Let's not say White, but for Holiday. So I think, I don't know, there's not a lot of excitement with that move. Again, I do like the upside of guys like Moses Moody. I think Trace Jackson Davis and Guy Santos are like interesting pieces. Buddy Hield, you're not going to talk me into Buddy Hield. You're just not going to. I can't do it. Let's go to Chicago Bulls. The Bulls here. Okay, this one is a little interesting. However, it's on a tighter timeline, all right? So for the pieces we just listed right there wasn't anybody that was like, I don't know, that was like, okay, this makes sense with the current construction of the roster. You're trying to win now. With this Chicago Bulls one, you're sacrificing a little bit more of the future to get back a real piece. So in this deal, also, I want to credit Bleacher Report where I found a lot of this information. So shout out the fans, the people over at Bleacher Report. So in this deal, the Bulls would acquire Kristaps Porzingis, the number 28 pick in this year's draft, the number 32 pick in this year's draft, and then the 2028 first-round pick that is protected 2 through 14. That is from the Spurs, which I think is from a Derek White pick swap. So one more time, they'd get Porzingis, the 28th and 32nd pick of this draft, and then a 2028 half-round protected pick that comes from the Spurs. Now, you're giving out a lot, but for this, you are getting Nikola Vucevic. All right, you're getting Dalen Terry, who I do think has a little bit of interest. He's a young player. And then the number 12 pick in this year's draft. So Bleacher Report went on to say, It's possible 28 and 32 would be enough of an enticement for the Bulls to give up their number 12 selection along with Vooch and Terry. Porzingis would be an upgrade over Vooch in basically every way, health permitting. So for the Celtics, like, this is pretty good because they get a cheaper gap year option in Vooch, right? So they're still paying Vooch, but it's a cheaper gap year option who makes about $10 million less than Zinger and then comes off the book. But the real prize, obviously, the number 12 pick. If the and like, that's also what I love about this is it's win now, but it's also understanding that Tatum is going to miss some time, right? Because Vooch, I still think, like, I know he's getting older. He's not really a defensive presence, not a rim protector, but he can shoot the three, which Joe Mazzulla is going to love. But then you add in the number 12 pick and a relatively deep first round also kind of gives you room for whoever that asset is to come into the team, like get their sea legs under them. And then really in 2026, 2027, when the team's ready to compete again, maybe it's another piece to the puzzle. Also, the number 12 pick could also be enticing to some other teams as well. So I think this one, I don't know if Chicago would do this, but man, Chicago at some point has to rip off the Band-Aid or at least like get their eyes checked and figure out what the vision is of this squad, right? I know they did move off of DeRozan and Levine, but it makes no sense that Vooch is still there. They have like 45 guards in like Terry, Gady, Ayo Dosunmu's still there. Kobe White's still there. Like, they've just got Alonzo Ball, I guess, is a free agent now, but was still there. Like, they just don't really have an idea of where they're going. So maybe this is an opportunity for them to get two first-round picks and an early second-round pick along with Porzingis. I don't know if Chicago would do this. This, to me, though, was the most enticing as a Celtics fan, where you're getting a piece that's going to help you compete this year. Because honestly, if you do run it back with JB and White and Peyton Pritchard, and maybe you do lose KP and then Holiday, but you add a Vooch, I still think that's a pretty competitive team. I like that. I don't think that's the most likely one, but I do like it. All right, what about the team that we just knocked out of the playoffs? Sayonara, Orlando Magic. This one is more of a cost-cutting thing, but the Celtics' biggest priority here, right, is getting some more front court depth. Because again, we already talked about Al and Luke, and now you'd be losing Porzingis, right? So in this one, KP goes to Orlando, which the last time we saw him in Orlando, blood just streaming down his face. Orlando would send two bigs back, and that is Wendell Carter Jr. and then Mo Wagner. We know that Orlando, this is a really good move for Orlando, in my opinion. They are so desperate for outside shooting, and most of the time you think that's going to come from a guard. However, Porzingis also provides that. And then for Orlando, if they're able to find a point guard, whether it's like a true, like, fringe all-star point guard or like somebody like Tyus Jones to come in, maybe even Chris Paul, who's going to be looking for a new home soon, I think that like makes a ton of sense for Orlando to have, your Paolo and Franz wings and then kind of surround them with like some shooting. They got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who's coming off an off year, but by Boston taking on Wendell and Mo, they're taking on a little bit of extra money, right? So, or long-term money, excuse me. Wendell Carter Jr. earns $11 million this upcoming year, and then 18, 19, and 21 over the subsequent seasons. And then Wagner has $11 million team option for next year. The Celtics would save roughly $10 million in salary and a lot more in tax penalties. We went over that in the previous one. So, and then by the time Carter's salary starts climbing up, Boston will already have settled his books, so that will give them a little bit more flexibility. So, again, I'm not 100% sure if Orlando, if that's how they want to get some more shooting. I don't think anyone's looking at the stat lines of like Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Wagner being like, oh, let's go. Like, I don't know if you're seeing that. I do think Mo Wagner is like a perfect backup big. I think like he can stretch the floor a little bit. You don't want him playing like 30 minutes a game, but he gives you a good 18 to 22. I think Wendell Carter Jr. is a fine rim protector. And we know he can play good defense because he was on that Orlando team. And that's really what we're looking for from our five. He can stretch the floor a little bit with the three ball. I don't think that but you don't want him taking more than 3 a game, but he can at least be a threat. So again, none of these are very sexy. None of these are very exciting. Let's go to Detroit, because the Pistons are going to be a team that I'm very excited to monitor this offseason. I think they have a lot of potential to make some moves. They're going to have some flexibility cap-wise. They are also like in this weird spot where they could probably try to win now. For their bigs, right, they've got the young Jalen Duren, who's been great. They have Isaiah Beef Stew, Mr. Beef Stewart, who is like sort of a stretch five, can sometimes knock down to the three, but he's more of an enforcer, if anything. So I could see Detroit being interested in surrounding Cade with a little bit more shooting. Of course, they had Malik Beasley, who finished second in the Sixth Man of the Year voting. You had Tim Hardaway Jr. I suspect one of those two come back, but not both. So in this deal, the Pistons would get Porzingis, and then the Celtics would get Simone Fontecchio and Marcus Sasser. All right. I don't really know if either of these teams would be thrilled with this, but in this deal, Celtics are cutting $20 million this year, plus all of the tax savings, which is going to be probably more than that. And an unbalanced trade, knowing that Detroit's going to clear enough cap space to pull this off, because they have a bunch of contracts they can move off of with guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Beasley, we already mentioned, and then B-Ball, Paul Reed. Obviously, as a Celtics fan, nobody's being thrilled about this. No one's like, hell yeah, we got it. But it does kind of, like Sasser, decent shooter. He hasn't been able to get a ton of playing time with all of the guards that Detroit does have. Fontecchio, I actually think Fontecchio is pretty good. I'm a Fontecchio fan. But again, this is not sexy, guys. This is not sexy. This is... You're going to have a couple of beers before you're excited about this one. Let me throw one more at you that didn't make the rundown. And this one is a little bit spicier. And I'm just going to tell you right now. I don't like it. I don't like it, but I'm going to throw it out there because Bleacher Report put it on there. This is with the New Orleans Pelicans, and this is more than just Kristaps Porzingis, okay? It's Kristaps Porzingis, and it's Peyton Pritchard, Sixth Man of the Year, okay? I don't think they should do it, but this is what they put out there. In return, they get Kelly Olynyk, and then the ball-stopping, probably one of the best wing defenders in the league, Herb Jones. So I don't think they're going to do it, but because of the finances, you could see it happening, right? Herb Jones would be a great pull. New Orleans has too many of these types of players, so one of them probably moves at some point. But I don't know. I still don't think I don't think they would do it. But that was another one that was thrown out there. I can't even talk myself into it. We can't move off of Pritchard, okay? That's terrible. This is what we're doing right now. These are the trades we're looking at. And again, I was trying to talk myself into some other stuff, right? We were looking at Kuminga earlier on. We were even looking at Kevin Durant, and so many other things, so many dominoes have to fall for those deals to actually come to fruition. And I think the more likelihood is some of the ones that we just went over. For you watching right now, the millions watching right now, are you guys like excited about any of these? I think if I had to rank them, Chicago is the most interesting to me. I love the idea of getting a number 12 pick. I love the idea of getting somebody that helps us win right now. I think Golden State's probably my second favorite. Those other two, Orlando and Detroit, I mean, that's just like so you have enough things to put in an article or a video. I don't think anybody's excited about those. I honestly don't think those are super likely. I know the Celtics are going to do whatever they can to get under in order to get their books in order and their finances under control. But man, I think that's a tough sell to your fans. And again, maybe that Tatum injury for the front office and the ownership was a blessing in disguise because it makes it easier to rip this Band-Aid off. But man, not great, Bob. Not great, Bob. But that's going to do it for me. Do me a favor before you get out of here. Can you hit the subscribe for me? Let's pump those numbers up and make everybody feel good. You know what I mean? Appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back probably tomorrow with some more uncomfortable trade ideas, but we'll look at Holiday tomorrow. Porzingis, again, if you made it through this entire video, let me know which home are you most excited about, and thanks for watching.